So let's go to our color tab. Okay, so here we have our project, or our animation and everything. So first off, in the color tab, we have these color wheels down here. And if you push the dots, you can change the mode of that. So what this basically is the lift would be the shadow, the gamma would be the midtones, and the gain would be the highlight. And then the offset, you mess around with all three. Okay, so if we go into our clip here, and let's see what we can do actually. No, so, okay, so this is where you will do all your corrections with the colors. You have the three color wheels here. Underneath we have the contrast, the pivot, the saturation, the hue, and the luma mix, which is also pretty handy. If we go to the number 2 icon down here, we have the temperature, the tint, the midtones, the color boost, and if there's shade, and the HL here. So that's the basic overview here. We have, if we are doing, for instance, doing raw, you will have all your raw things in here. You will have, if you had used a color match, like one of these color cards, you could use this to do the right colors. And of course, here we have our wheels. Here we have our RGB mixer, where we can change up colors and stuff like that. Here we have, and this is not in the free version, by the way, this is our noise reduction, which are here, but you don't really need noise reduction if you do underexposed footage. Okay, and then we'll go over here and we have our curves, we have our qualifier, and we have our windows, we have our tracker, which is pretty good, by the way. We have a blur and sharpen effect. We have our key, where we can take our color grade and then we can dial it down or up. We have our input blanking here, and we have some 3D stuff which are not in the 3 version. Then of course we have our keyframes over here. We'll have a look at that later. And we have our waveforms, and here we have our clip information. So, and then if we want to, for instance, I like to have a view of all my waveforms, I can click this button and I have all my waveforms here. And when I've taken a look at that and I don't need it anymore, I can simply close them. Okay, up here we have a light box. It's just a different way of watching your clips. I have one clip, so it doesn't make that much sense. Then we have all the open effects we have in here, which are essentially the same as in the editing tab. So you can actually, if you want to do the effects in the editing tab, you can. If you want to do it inside of the color grading, you can do that as well. And we have our notes, which are all our color grade. And I'll just take off the effects. And then we have this clip, and it's just to toggle. I have one clip, but if I had like a very long timeline, it would be pretty handy to see where all my cuts were. So anyway, okay, and then we have again the timeline, which is a timeline view of all our film, but there's one clip, we don't really need that. And of course we have the media pool, so we can see what's in that. And then also we have one of the new features in Davinci Resolve 15, which is the LUTs. And what this basically does, let's see, let's take some Blackmagic Design stuff, is like you can take your clips and then we can just, without clicking, we can actually preview our LUTs in here. And then we can, you know, find something we like. Okay, so let's say, well, that's really dark. Okay, let's take this. This is just a LUT. It's just what a LUT is. Basically, a LUT is just a lot of different numbers telling the footage what color it should be. And you can, of course, tweak that. So now I've just given it a LUT. If you want to apply another LUT, or you can't, or you can. If you have one LUT on the footage, And then if you apply another one, you'll put a lot on top of a lot, and that's not nice. So then you have to go over here and right click and then reset your node. And just keep that in mind if you want to change that. But actually I like this one, I think was good. Okay, so let's start by doing a something super simple. I don't want to use a lot actually, I'll just reset my node instead. So this is the first node we are going to work with. So let's say, what do we want to change in our footage here? So first off, first off, we would like to do some white balance, I think. So there's a lot of ways of doing white balance. The easiest way, of course, would be to go down here and take this eyedropper down here and then just click it and then drag it up on the footage. And I think the duck here was white. And just click that. So let's go in and let's have a look at our scopes. Okay, and the way scopes are is just the bottom here is black and the top is the whitest part of the image. So you can kind of, so let's say we want to move up the lightest part, something like that. And then we want to make it a little bit darker, but we don't want to crush our colors, which we are doing right here. We want to have the blacks around 0. And then the midtones will just push up a bit, and something like that. So let's just take this away. I'll just have it here instead. Okay, so now so let's say this is our white balance and our basic correction. So we have now our first node. So let's just push Alt S to create another one. So in the second node, we are going to push the saturation a bit. Something like that. And we're also going to use the contrast, and then the pivot, we're going to decide where the darkest point, like something like this. Yeah, looks pretty neat. And let's say we want to mess around with the temperature. It was like rainy, so it's not super sunny, so a little more bluish. And then we could mess around with the tint of that. And let's do a bit of the color boost where we just saturate some colors. So this is like, let's say this is a very great and simple grade we have done. So let's have a look at one of the other tools, which also is pretty useful. I'll just do another node, Control S, and here we have the curves, and again you see we have all of these different things we can choose from. I'll keep it very simple. We'll do super simple thing like an S curve or something like that. So again, this is the, as you see, this is the lightest part of the image, and this down here is the darkest part. So depending on how we move stuff. So if we just do like an S curve, so we'll do something like this, and let's say that's basically what we want to do. I'll just do another node. There's Control S again, and you can really have a lot of nodes. But so let's try to do something with the qualifier. This is one of the things I use all of the time in Davinci Resolve. Again, let's pick something to qualify. If you go over here and you have this magic than or a highlighter, you can push that, and let's take the yellowish duck here, and let's try to select the duck, the yellow part of that at least. Let's so the idea here is to make this as clean as possible, and we'll do that by going to the hue and to the saturation here. And again, so something there, and then we have to go to the low part. Okay. So, and this is the first thing we'll do, and then we'll go over here and we'll go to the clean blacks. turn that up a bunch. And so we also have something whites. It's not a perfect key or of this, of course, but now we have that. And you might ask, why do we want to do that? So for instance, if we want to, so again, the way nodes works, if we want to do something to our rubber duck here, we can go and we can, for instance, use the gain and make it more yellow or less or whatever we want to do. If we don't want to do any of that, we'll just click here and reset. So I think we'll do, let's go and use the hue here, and we can then shift the colors of the duck a bit if we wanted to. I don't know, let's make it green, and let's do a bit of more saturation stuff. Maybe we'll just do the yellow, actually I like that more. Doesn't matter, we're going to make this look a little more yellow than before. As you see, if you click here, you can toggle on and off your effects. So let's say that if we click here, you can see all the yellow colors which are in our footage as well. So let's say that we're not happy with this. Let's just have a look if you can see. Okay, so let's say we want to make this rubber duck pop even more. So if we go to the windows, I'm not going to make a new node. So we're in the windows, and in the windows we'll just take like a circle. We'll put the circle over the rubber duck, make it a little bit larger, and then we'll just drag here and we'll feather it out. And then let's go to the gain here, and we'll lift the gain a bit, and we'll go lifting the shadows or the lift, and then the gamma will push that a little bit as well. So, and then we'll, for instance, as you see, there is a movement in this shot here, so that's not good, because then our effect will move. But easy enough, Davinci Resolve have a tracker. And in the tracker, we'll go to Window, and we'll simply hit the track backwards first, because that's easier. So we'll just track our footage backwards pretty fast. And then we'll go here, and we'll go to our second keyframe. And when we are there, we'll just hit forward. So we'll just quickly track the rest of our shot. Okay, something like that. And it is a pretty good tracker. So if you go here and toggle off, we'll remove our window so we can see our effect without. So actually, if we go here, we can toggle our effect on and off. So you can see that's what we did with it. We made it more yellow and more popping. So that's how you could work with, for instance, windows. There's a lot of different windows, but we'll not cover all of those in this tutorial because it'll be a long one. So let's go to the next one. Also, let's say our footage, it's a bit shaky, isn't it? It's a bit shaky. We could also stabilize it inside of Davinci Resolve, kind of what you would do in Premiere with the warp stabilizing. Kind of the same. So again, we'll go to our tracker, go to Window, and go to Stabilize. And that's pretty simple. We'll just push Stabilize, and it will stabilize our footage just like that. And of course, if we're not happy with the result it does, we can go down here and change the smoothness and how much it will crop and if it will zoom in a picture and all of that. So remember you can play around with that depending on the shot. So you can see it here, how stable it looks. And then you can also push bypass here. So I do believe this would work better if we did not have this text layer here, because as you see, it's a bit wobbly now because it's also trying to stabilize that, or it's not stabilized actually. So without the text, it would be better, no doubt about that. So let's say we wanted to, again, we wanted to blur out stuff. Do a new node, and let's say we want to use this one. And so now we can draw a shape. What kind? It doesn't matter what kind of shape we want. We want to this kind of a shape here, something like that. And now this is only going to affect this part of the image. So if we go to radius blur, if we drag it down, it will sharpen the image. If we drag it upwards, we will put the image out of focus. So let's say we wanted to have our rubber duck here out of focus. Of course, we will need to go to our mask here, and we need to go in and let's soften that up just a bit, and let's feather the ins and the outs of that so it will not be as fast, something like that. And let's toggle off our mask. So if we go to the editing tab now, we can see. Oh, by the way, there's a tip by this. If you want to see your thing full screen, you can push Control F, and then you'll have your composition or your timeline watched in full screen. When you want to go out of it, it's just Control F again. Okay, let's go back to the color tab.